Okay, let's go over your study guide. The first half of the study guide is going from rectangular coordinates or XY coordinates and going to polar coordinates. So we're going from -1/2, -√3/2 to some radius, comma, and some radian. And in the directions, we want our radian to either be between 0 and 6.28 or between 0 and 2 pi. So I'll walk you through how to do these. This first one, if you have your unit circle, actually the first two are right off the unit circle. Actually, the first four are right off the unit circle, and I'll show you. So if you look at your unit circle, we're in the third quadrant, negative, negative, -1/2, -√3/2. Anytime you're on the unit circle, the radius is 1. That's why it's called the unit circle, 1 unit. Okay, and we want the radian in terms of pi. So if you look at your unit circle, what is the radian in terms of pi? And that is 4 pi over 3. You can leave your answer like that. Or if you wanted to make that a decimal between 0 and 6.28, you would just say 4 pi over 3 times to make it a decimal, you just say 4 times 3.14 divided by 3. And do that in your calculator and see what you get. Four times 3.14 divided by 3. That is 4.19. So your answer could have been 1, 4.19. That would also be fine. Okay, now let's look at number 2. Okay, number 2, if you'll notice the √2/2's, anytime you see a √2/2, that's from the unit circle. But if you, and this is positive, positive, so that tells me it's first quadrant. And in the first quadrant on the unit circle, where the radius is 1, you have √2/2, √2/2, that's with a radius of 1. But if you see a 7 in front of these, that means the radius is 7. We're just multiplying these coordinates by 7. So my radius is 7. And if you'll look, what is the radian in terms of pi in the first quadrant at √2/2, √2/2? It's right in the middle. So it's one of the pi over 4s, and this is just pi over 4. Or if you wanted to make it a decimal, you could. It's 3.14 divided by 4. 3.14 divided by 4. So you could say 7, 0.79. So either one of these would be fine. All right, now let's look at number 3. Okay, number 3, remember I told you 1 through 4, or A through D, you can find on the unit circle. 3 and 4 both have the same value for x and y. And if you remember back on your special right triangles, if you have a side length that's the same, or the legs are the same, then that's a 45, 45, 90 triangle, and your hypotenuse will be that leg times √2. And so that's what this is. This is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. It is in the third quadrant, and it's right in the middle. So if I did a 45, 45, 90, -5, -5, well, your radius would be that leg times √2. And I'm just use positives when you're finding your radius, your hypotenuse. So we'll say the hypotenuse is 5√2, or that is my radius. Okay, so we've got half of our answer. Our radius is 5 root 2. And we need to figure out the radian. Well, look at your unit circle. This is right in the middle. Anytime you're right in the middle of the quadrant, it's one of those pi over 4 values. So this is pi over 4. This is 3 pi over 4. This will be 5 pi over 4. Okay, 5 pi over 4. Or you can make that a decimal if you wanted to. But that's the answer to number, or 1C. All right, now let's do 1D. That's also going to be a 45, 45, 90. Okay, so if I plotted that, I am in the fourth quadrant because it's a positive x and a negative y, and we're right in the middle. It's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. We're at positive root 5, negative root 5. What would my radius be? What would the distance from here to here? Well, remember, we take our leg length of the right triangle and multiply it times root 2. So we're doing root 5 times root 2, which is root 10. That's my radius. That's my radius. So my radius is root 10. And now let's find the radian. Well, we're right in the middle. We're right in the middle of the fourth quadrant. So look on your unit circle. What's the radian right in the middle of the fourth quadrant? That's 7 pi over 4. We're done. And so on 1 through 4 on your test, get your unit circle and look at your answers, or look at the radian values on the unit circle wherever you're at. Okay, so that's 1 through 4. 1E is not on the unit circle, so let's look at that one. E, we are in which quadrant? It's positive, positive, so we're in the first quadrant. We're going right 5 and up 12. Right 5, up 12. We need the hypotenuse, or the radius. This is a right triangle triple. If you know your triples, this is a 5, 12, 13 right triangle. So my radius is 13. So there's half my answer. Now I need to figure out what the radian is. But if I can find the degree of this, then we can find what the radian is. Okay, so what I need to find is this degree. All right, so if you'll think back to SOHCAHTOA, you can actually find angle measures by using the inverse functions. And so let's pick one. We can do sine inverse, cosine inverse, or tangent inverse. Since we got all three sides, remember sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so sine inverse 12 over 13. It's opposite over hypotenuse. So we're going to put this in our calculator, and that'll tell me what the degree is. So let's put that in our calculator. Okay, when I put that in the calculator, I get 67.38 or 67.4 degrees. 67.4 degrees. But remember, we want to put our answer in radians, not degrees. So we can make this degree a radian. And the way you do that, we'll do 67.4 times 3.14 over 180. So let's do that. 67.4 times 3.14 divided by 180. Okay, so my decimal, so I'll rewrite my answer. Radius is 13. My decimal would be 1.18 to the nearest 100th. And that's my answer.